Lorraine Bosse Smith is known for her performance on and off the stage. She has a very unique ability, and one a lot of us don't have, to engage her audiences or clients in a manner that empowers them to greater heights both professionally and personally. She's the author of 7 books. She has written for several magazines as well as newspapers, currently writes on assignment for several magazines, and is a human behavior expert. In fact, she has a certified professional behavior analyst. That's what she is, and a certified professional motivators and analyst. I'll spit this out. She's also a speaker, an executive coach, fitness professional, listed in the 2000 Who's Who of Entrepreneurs, and the 2005 Who's Who Among Female Executives. She holds a BS in Business Administration and in Marketing and Communications. She's a pretty busy lady, and she's with us here this morning. I was reading this piece yesterday, and I had to call her. Why would anyone do that? You ever said that statement, maybe to your kids, your wife, your husband, whoever? Why would anyone do that? You know, we talk about human behavior, and it gets very, very complicated. Well, Lorraine's going to help us this morning with that whole answer to that whole question. Lorraine, great to have you on the Gary Sutton Show. Good morning.
Hey, good morning to you. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. After I got done reading all the things you're doing, I'm wondering if you ever sleep.
Some.
Okay, just some, right? You know, one of the things that really caught my eye, how many times have you ever said that? You stood there, or you maybe at a restaurant, or you're out somewhere, and you say, why would anyone do that? Why would anybody wear that? Why would anybody act like that? And one of the points you make is human behavior is complicated, and it often defies what we think logic might be. But you have some insights, and one of the things that really hit me was it said using just 2 questions, you can quickly identify a personality type and explain the strengths, the weaknesses, the underlying motivators that make people do what they do. And we stand back and say, why did they do that? What would make them want to do that? What are the 2 things you use?
Yes. Why is such a small word but such a big concept, because it consumes us. So if you're game, I would be happy to ask you 2 questions, and then we can kind of use you as the guinea pig. Is that something?
I will be a guinea pig anytime for you, and I'll be doing it right now. So go ahead.
Okay, great. So knowing that you have to be both in the world, outgoing and reserved, which do you feel most comfortable? Are you the person, which I already know the answer, who likes to be on the radio show, or do you like to be the person behind the scenes?
I actually am very reserved when I leave the show. I'm much more comfortable being reserved.
You are.
I'm very much more. I'm probably a good psychological specimen here for you to study, because what I do is public, but I really do. I'm much more reserved. I'm fine in the corner place in the restaurant. I'm home with my wife a lot. So there you go.
That's going to be a great discussion.
Okay.
So let's get the second question. So you're reserved.
Yes.
Now, knowing again that you have to be both to function in the world,
yes.
When you wake up in the morning, do you think of who you're going to get to talk to, who you're going to see, or is it what you get to do? What do you check off of a list? So is it tasks or people?
People.
Okay, people. So you are a reserved people, which I call a friendly person. Now, here's the kicker, which we just decided is, many folks who would be in your career would be more of an outgoing people person,
I agree.
Which is a fun person.
Right.
So it's easy money for them. You probably get home at the end of the day and all of this and feel kind of spent. You need to recharge your batteries when you get home. Is that correct?
Well, kind of sometimes, but I don't feel spent because you're kind of always preparing for it. So I don't feel totally spent. I really enjoy what I do. I've often told people the first day I go to work will be the day I quit. So I kind of enjoy it 24/7, but I pace myself. I guess that's the way of saying it.
Yep, and what you enjoy is that connection with one-on-one people and feeling like you're reaching out to those folks. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a very...
So that's your motivator. That is what jazzes you to do something that, it's not that you can't do it, because you have proven it. You're very good at it. But you approach it differently, and that's really where the magic comes, is understanding that why, right? How you go about doing it is different than someone, these... very iconic people that give us a picture of a fun person is your Jim Carrey, right?
Right.
He's even quoted to say, in the middle of the night, if he felt his parents were having a bad day, he, put his tap shoes on and start tap dancing because he wanted to cheer them up. The entertainer to the max. So that's a different approach, and we know those kind of radio show hosts. Yours is more personable, more, hey, I want to get to know you, I want to talk about something important. And that's how we can start to understand why people do what they do, is we figure out, are they outgoing, reserved? And again, we have to be all of that.
Right.
You'll have guests that are just like you who want to, read their books and be quiet, but they will be very outgoing on the show because they need to be. And so what I like to tell people is no matter what your wiring is, whether you're task or people, outgoing, reserved, we are constantly the old-fashioned equalizers, you remember, I'm dating myself here, but we would push up, if we wanted bass, push down the treble. Well, we're doing that every moment of the day. We're saying, hey, do I need to be more detail-oriented or do I need to be more global? Am I needing to be more outgoing? Am I needing to be, a little quiet? And when we understand first who we are, then we start to see why other people do what they do.
Yeah, I've never quite figured out why I do what I do, because what I do is very public and kind of has been for a long time in coaching and in this and all kinds of things. I coach basketball as well. So I do think, but I think I also do like it because I like to listen to people and I like to talk to people in this kind of mode. And I love to talk to people one-on-one when I'm out, but I am much more of a small group type of person than I am a large group person, right, even though I have to do those kind of events a lot. So, when you look at all this and you say, and we stand back and we say, well, why would someone do that? For example, why would the boss go off and rant at me like he's doing? Why would the partner have a sudden jealousy? Why would a celebrity suddenly go off the rails? We stand back and we say, why would they do that?
Right.
We look at Michael Jackson when he was alive and say, why would he do that to his face all the time? What's going on there?
Yep.
So,
well, we look at people through our own lenses, see?
We do.
So we see weirdness in them because they're not like us. And we know ourselves very well. So it takes us stepping out of self to say, okay, so I wouldn't do that. But, these high fun people, who really seek approval in, relationships and really want to be seen, they are susceptible to these, I'm not good enough. Like the Michael Jackson, I really think, he just kind of got stuck in this perfection. I mean, look at his work. He was a master,
Oh, it's unbelievable,
right?
Yeah.
So he took that onto himself and needed perfection and whatever he deemed perfection to be, and he sought it. Whereas another personality, like the Screaming Boss that you mentioned, isn't going to fall into that trap, but because they're so goal-oriented, they're so fast-paced, right? They are on to the next task. See, the fast people are those who are outgoing but task people. And so, it's what they do and what they achieve. They can forget that there's a person in their office, and they just start going off on what hasn't happened and why isn't their goal been met, and they forget that there's a person whose feelings are probably being stepped on in the process of them having their rant.
We're talking with Lorraine Bosse Smith this morning, who's an executive coach, corporate trainer, speaker, and author. So I guess what you're saying is we need to, when we deal with other people and we're looking at other people, and we get judgmental too, there's no question about it. If I see someone walking through the door, I'm kind of beyond being shocked anymore, but someone walks through the door with 5 different colors in their hair and 8,000 tattoos and piercings everywhere, and I'm fighting getting old in terms of my thinking. Like when I was a boy, we never did that kind of stuff.
Right.
Instead of being shocked, you start to say, and instead of saying maybe why would they look like that, you start to wonder, I wonder what is going through their mind. I wonder what they're looking at. I wonder if they're trying to look prettier, if they're trying to shock me, if they're trying to make a statement. What are they trying to do? So we have to kind of consider, I guess, the other styles of the way people think out there. Is that a fair statement?
It is, and that's what I love about what I do is I help people to stop judging. And again, it's not that we're bad people. We see through our own lenses. So it's building a bridge to consider that they might be different. And guess what, folks? A lot of times, someone who you go, what, is going to be a different style. It's why in a marriage, we often marry our opposites, and why you go, why in the world do they do this to drive me crazy? Well, here's the truth, people, is nobody, you and me included, don't do things to people. We do who we are. And that's what we have to understand is this gal with the crazy colored hair and all of this stuff is doing who she is. She's an expressive person. She loves variety. She's outgoing. And so she's just kind of being who she is. And I remember a time in the L.A. airport, it was one of those early morning, 4 in the morning waiting. And, you're just barely functioning. And I see this orange thing coming by with hot pink pants and bright colored, just a eclectic mix. And it was giving me a headache. Well, it was Winona Judd.
Okay, all right.
And, of course, a performer, right? Someone who's on stage, used to getting attention. She was expressing herself.
Yeah.
Not something I would wear, but it was who she was.
Are there like common styles? You asked me some questions there at the beginning. Are there common styles of personalities with people that you've come across in your studies and in your work?
Yeah, 10% of the population is going to be those fast-paced, aggressive folks that, are high achievers, but again can kind of steamroll over some folks. They often tend to be the leaders, and thank goodness there's only about 10% of them because they're bossing everybody around. They need people to boss around. Kind
of a dear occupant kind of person when it comes to deal with you on a social level, right?
Right. And so then, that splits up, the other three styles, the fun, the friendly, and factual. And, it's a good blend because we need all of these people in the world. In fact, we have all of these abilities in us. It's just we have one that we're most comfortable. And you shared so graciously to say, hey, actually at home, I am more of the quiet homebody. That's what you're most comfortable with. But you are very, easily to adapt to being more outgoing when you need to be for your career. So you are doing exactly that. You're tapping into parts of yourself. But many of us just, live at that one, maybe the two, and that's what gets us in trouble is we're not even seeing the other two styles. Those are the people we get frustrated with, we get annoyed with, we have conflict with. They're the coworker where you just like, I want to strangle them. They're the person on the freeway where you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And so if you can take a deep breath and step back, you can go, oh, I get it. They're an analytical person. I'm a global person. That's why we're not jiving.
So what's a global person compared to an analytical one, in your opinion?
Global person is going to be your fast and your fun folks because they are big picture people. Think of it. They're so fast-paced, they're not getting down into the nitty-gritty details, whereas the friendly and the factual, especially the factual who's very analytical, does. They like that slower pace. They like to get into the specifics. Correctness matters. And again, can you imagine a world where all of us were global and didn't care about balancing the budget, right?
Exactly.
Well, and we all have to balance our checkbook. And so we tap into that. But thankfully, there are those who love to count, and process and analyze.
One of the things we're all affected by, no matter what style we are, and I think we've kind of come to the idea that there's not a one-size-fits-all approach here, which I think you've already taught me this morning. But, stress is one of the things that hits us. And stress can be good stress and bad stress. We've heard a lot of that in the talk a lot of times. What are your thoughts about stress and how we deal with stress?
Yes, there is no such thing as stress-free. Don't buy it if someone's selling it because we do have positive stress. That's the weddings, that's the birth of a baby, a new job, but we have negative stress. That's the ones we pay attention to because we don't like them. That's the loss of a job, that's an illness, that's a car crash, any of those things. And then what I also call motivating stress, right? To get to what you had to do this morning, you had to get up and get there. So that's stress. But each of the styles will react differently. So your fast folks are going to get agitated and very impatient.
Yep.
Your fun folks are going to get emotional and may actually bite your head off because, that loss of respect or, there's fear that's going to drive them with that stress. Your friendly folks withdraw. Sometimes we think silence is a good thing, and it's the saying like, oh, my wife, she just sat there, so I guess she accepted it. No, she was stewing. And then the factual folks will get very into cognitive, they'll research and process and kind of get stuck in this, paralyzed by analysis. And so neither is a good reaction, especially, when we're in relationships at work or at home. So it's understanding what you need to do to recover from that stress and extending stress. If you have a friend who you adore and all of a sudden one day they just bite your head off, which isn't typical, and they're an outgoing person and you know that they love people, then you can say, oh, something's really going on. I need to love them through it.
It seems to me that each one of us has to find a way to transfer stress into some kind of determination. Would that be a fair equation?
Yes, each of us has to. What I like to say is we all have an ugly head, right, Gary? It just pops out, and we're like, uh-oh. And so none of us is perfect. No style is better than the other. But when we can do the right things to prevent that from happening, then we're really managing our stress, which is really our goal, right? Because we can't eliminate it ever. So for the fast people, it's doing something active. For me, and this is my style. I'll put myself out there. Is I'm the person in the grocery store, Gary, where people get out of my way and move away from the aisle, and they go, "Oh dear, you must be in a hurry." And I go, "No, I just walked this fast."
Okay. We're going to take a very quick break with you, Lorraine. I want to come back, and I want you to finish that thought. But I also, for a lot of people, we go from stress to kind of a natural thing. When you're in a pressure situation, let's say you're going to interview for a job. I've heard people say, man, they freeze up. I get people here who get on the phone, or people that are out there say, I almost called you, but I couldn't make the call. I froze up. How do we get over that? How do we nail the interview or nail the call? I want to ask you that question when we come back here on the Gary Sutton Show with Lorraine Bosse Smith. And she'll be right back with us on News Radio 910 WSBA. Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show on WSBA with Lorraine Bosse Smith, who is a certified professional behavior analyst and a certified professional motivators analyst as well. And Lorraine, I wanted to ask you, we go from that stress we were talking about to those situations that people get really nervous in many times. And I know I've gone through a number of interviews over the years and talked to a number of people. And, you get somebody on who's famous, and you kind of have to make sure you don't get caught up like the deer in the headlights just before it gets hit, and make sure that you kind of settle in and say, okay, now, I want to ask the very best questions that anybody's ever asked on an interview of some of these people. How do you do that? How do you get calmed down a little bit and be able to communicate effectively, or maybe even a job interview, nail a job interview where you're not looking back and saying, man, I wish I'd have said this because I really screwed it up?
Yep. It's focusing on the other person. One, that reduces our stress because we're not all about us, right? We're not stressing about me. You know yourself. You know your background. So by focusing on the other person, you're just going to trust that all of that will settle into the right places. So what you're doing is you're immediately, whether it's that interview with the celebrity or the job, and you're sitting across from a potential employer, you're identifying who that person is. And so look at their office. You can even, if it's via the phone, you can determine how fast are they talking, how slow are they talking. Are they talking more about the personable side of the position, the people, the reporting folks, or activities with people, or are they talking about tasks and the actual duties of the job? That is going to help you to do those two questions that we did at the very beginning of the segment. Now I have an outgoing people person, or outgoing task, or reserved people or reserved task. And now you can start to cater how you communicate so it works for them. And all of a sudden, they're loving you. They're like, wow, this is going easy. They get me, and they don't even know what's happening, because think about it. If you're talking to someone Russian, it doesn't matter how loud you talk. If you do not speak Russian, they're not going to get it.
No. You said something great there, and it really is important. Focus on them, which also then means, I think, be able to listen and hear what it is that they're saying. And I think when you listen and hear, a lot of us listen and we go, yeah, okay, fine. And then we run on by. And that's probably a task-oriented person, if I'm reading you correctly. But the person that stops says, oh, okay, Well, that's an interesting statement. Have you thought about this? Or, geez, that made me think about this. So now they know that you've taken what they've said, internalized it, and you're now bringing something back at them, or to add to the conversation to make it even better. I think that would be more of a people-oriented person, wouldn't it?
Well, there's going to be the two styles who are great listeners by their natural wiring, and that is the friendlies and the factuals, because they are more reserved.
Yeah.
Us fast folks and fun folks have to zip our lips when we're trying to listen. And, a trick that I give to folks is always have, something like a water bottle, something you can, sip on, right? And that way your mouth is busy. So when you're, that allows your ears to participate and your mouth not to jump in when you don't want it to. So, you'll often see me when, I'm in meetings, I'm sipping a lot of water.
Right. Okay. Just to make sure. So is it hard for you to listen? I mean, is it hard for you to kind of tune in and listen to someone, in other words?
Did you just say something, Gary?
Thank you. Yeah, I got you. You get another sip of your water there for a second.
Yeah.
One of the other things I hear people say all the time, I was really, really, really big, and I went on this change of life about, today is actually 141 days.
Congratulations, I saw that.
And I've lost 90 pounds as of this morning. So I made it finally to that. So, but a lot of people, you go into the gym or something and they say, well, how did you ever get like that? What did and one guy come up one day and said, how did you get so big? And I said, well, I was 125 yesterday, and I went to sleep last night. I woke up this morning and said, what the heck happened? I don't know. I said I was an idiot. That's how I did it. And I said, now I've got to get new kinds of habits with a good workout program as well as a change of life. And so I got into all this whole thing, as did my wife. But the point being that a lot of us, talk about the workout programs over the years. We think that talking about it somehow does it each day. And I'm sure you run across these people all the time. And now I do it. And I think, how could you not be doing that? So how do you get people to stick with a workout program or have the discipline to stick with, a weight loss type program, those kinds of things? So I'm sure that comes up in your business from time to time.
It does. I'm a personal trainer as well, so I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just like I have to work at the listening, I do. I have to sip that water and pay attention. Your particular style, Gary, the friendly, is most likely the person who is going to overeat because they love to sit down with somebody. They love a conversation. They love a meal. They love that comfort of people. And this is a time where someone like you will look and care for everybody else and forget yourself. And I know there are people out there I'm talking to that, get tears in their eye going, it's so difficult for me to focus on self.
I think you just had a great point. I think a lot of people do feel that way.
Right. Well, your particular style, more than the others. And so, it's getting somebody else involved. I don't know if you did this, but for those who are struggling with their weight, find a buddy, find a family member, a dear friend, a coworker that you care about who's, really on the brink of getting some health issues. They've got to lose some weight.
My wife's lost 36. There you go.
Help them get healthy. And guess what? When you are their walking buddy, you're going to get healthy too.
Well, what's amazing about it, I tell people this, it sounds so cliched. We have about 30 seconds to go here, but I said, I now eat to live. I don't live to eat. And I have a little saying that someone gave me, and I said, I won't eat it today if I don't want to wear it tomorrow. And those govern me. And so now when I go to an event, I don't go there to eat. I go there to visit with the people or whatever. Right. And the eating is kind of something you do, but you're careful about it. So final thoughts, about 20 seconds. I want to get your final thoughts on all this.
Hey, we're all made different, and whether it's your weight, your lifestyle, a job, understanding your own wiring and then how to adapt that for others is really what's going to get you the results in any of those areas that you seek. I have tons of books and resources available at my website, www.thetotalu.biz. I would love to help people. The
Total You, that's YOU.biz. Great website to go to. Lorraine, you're a lovely person. It was really nice talking to you this morning. I look forward to doing this again with you sometime.
I would love to do it, and congratulations again on your victory. Keep it up.
Well, it's just part way. I got another 100 to go, and I'll be happy, okay?
You take care.
I'm already happy, but we'll be happier. Thanks. Take care, Lorraine.